it was, of course, quite fitting that her last sighting was getting off a bus, because she used buses on a daily basis. She was very much an advocate of bus travel. The news was broken to us through the Sussex police. We were contacted individually and asked if we knew where she was. And of course, we didn't. And pretty rapidly, it became clear after a night went by and she still hadn't returned to her flat in Bonchurch Road, that last sighting of her on the bus seemed to be where her position became unknown.
And how extensive was the search, and is the search? Is it still continuing?
Initially, the search was very impressive. Within a week of her disappearance, there were, I believe, almost 100 police officers combing in the area of Whitehawk, the district of Brighton where she was last spotted. We would also understand that members of the public also helped out, volunteered to search the area. In August, there was, I believe, every single property in the area was visited by the police, and of course they had to overcome the problem of properties which were empty or between leases, and so eventually they did manage to speak to every single resident in the area. And after that point, the investigation inevitably had to be wound down. My understanding is the case is still open. They're still obviously ready and waiting for any information to come forward, but at the moment it is in limbo.
So let us just, because your great Aunt Nell, she had Alzheimer's, did she not?
Yes. Well, we never had an official diagnosis of that, but we were aware that her memory was starting to fail her pretty badly. Definitely, there were concerns raised when she visited the British Home Stores cafe 7 times in one morning, and the manager of that place contacted us because Auntie Nell did carry my mother's contact details in her purse, and they expressed the concern that she'd gone in on her usual daily ritual and repeated it 7 times the same morning.
So what time did she climb on the 1A bus?
I believe the time of her getting off that bus was just after 2 o'clock on that afternoon.
And when did you get told that your great aunt was missing?
It was the following day, I believe, when she'd spent the night away from her flat. It was her neighbour across the passage, the neighbouring flat, the neighbour there who called the police to report that she was missing.
So April the 23rd, Shakespeare's birthday, St George's Day. How do you honour your great aunt when you get to the 23rd of April?
Well, the date is foremost on my mind at the moment as it's approaching. It's very difficult to be able to commemorate somebody who we don't know is still alive.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating.
I mean, if the coverage was, I do remember this, and I wasn't at BBC Sussex then, but it was quite extensive coverage of it, and did anybody spot her anywhere?
The last sighting that was reported on regional news on the television it turned out to be dismissed by the police, was the following day in London Road. But the actual last confirmed sighting of her was recorded by CCTV as she got off that bus just after 2 o'clock that afternoon on the 23rd of April.
So, George, I'm asking my listeners, how do you cope if a member of your family goes missing in circumstances like this? How have you coped?
I think the only way you cope is by talking to people, telling them how you feel, and how you feel is very wretched, powerless. It's the not knowing. It's probably even worse than knowing that she had died, because we don't know for sure.
Yes, there's no closure. How close were you to your Auntie Nell?
Auntie Nell, I come from what I guess you would consider quite a dysfunctional, fractured family, and Auntie Nell was the closest thing I had to a grandmother. I was very close to her indeed. And Auntie Nell was the sort of person who could always be relied upon to make light of a difficult situation. And one of her sayings was, "Never mind," but she was a cup half full rather than a cup half emptied sort of person. And I miss her very much. That's what I would say about Auntie Nell. I do miss her.
So do you want to take this opportunity? What was she wearing? Let's just do it one more time. You never know.
Auntie Nell had her, as mentioned, she had her rituals and she had her regular outdoor outfits, and the photographs have shown that she was wearing, as usual, her black beret, or it's not really a beret, it's a more of a hat, really. She was wearing, I believe, possibly a mauve-coloured coat, fleece-type coat, possibly. And she would have been carrying a walking stick, I believe.
Okay.
By that stage, she was becoming increasingly infirm. However, for her age, she was still remarkably mobile.
So I understand that you want to commemorate Nellie on a Brighton bus. How would you do that?
It's something we are aware of, that the local buses carry at the front a name of a person connected to the history of Brighton and Hove on the anniversary of her disappearance, to find out whether they would be willing to display her name on one of their buses. I think it would have meant a great deal to Auntie Nell.
Well, darling George Holland, I just hope that we do get closure and that you get closure. And I'm so grateful that you talked to us. We'll be thinking of her on St. George's Day. And I thank you again, George Holland, for telling